What's up, Kickin' It fans? Episode 29 of Kickin' It with Breezy and Don C. Very casual today, just a quick check-in with you all. Danny, what's going on your end, man?
Man, I'm hanging out here, just chilling. Got back from a workout earlier. Enjoying the weather, man. I remember last time we recorded, I remember Jay was talking about how stormy it was there. Crazy stormy here. And this week's been insane. 92 feels like 98 every day. So it's been easy to get out and hashtag sweat today. So it's been good. It's been good to enjoy the sun this week, get a little tan. But it's been good, pretty relaxing, not much new going on. What about you? How's it going down there?
It's pretty good. Very hot. Very hot. I've had to literally restrict my running to only after like 8 o'clock at night because it gets way too sunny here, way too humid. I think yesterday the UV index was around 11. I want to say around lunchtime, so I was staying inside. But you were at the beach though, weren't you?
I did. I went to the beach last
How was that?
weekend. Yeah, it was fun. We got the chance to go, me and Josh, to one of our friends' place who goes down to UNCW. Their house is still available to go in, so we went in, got to go on the beach, socially distance ourselves from everybody else on the beach. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I got cooked for sure. I turned into a lobster after day one because I hadn't really seen the sun without my shirt on for an awfully long time because I am not one of those guys who runs with his shirt off like one of my buddies here, Mr. Co-host here. I cannot do this because I will cook way too quickly in this heat because you know me, I run in the afternoon. It's beating down on you. I can't get away with it. But the beach was a lot of fun. It was good to get away. I've been wanting to go to the beach for a long time, so good to get over there. Hoping to get back soon, that's for sure.
Good to hear. Good to hear. You're right, though. I have resorted to not wearing a shirt when I run. Part of it is because it's later at night. No one can really see me. So, and the sun's not out. And it's just easier, man. I know it sounds corny, but the aerodynamics of not having a shirt on makes me feel that much faster. I'm not super fast to begin with, so any added bonus I enjoy. But yeah, talking about things that I've been doing, can we
just talk about this guy just mentioned aerodynamics from taking his shirt off? I can't hold back from that.
Listen, man, it's true.
How much are you cutting from that? 10 seconds off of a 4-mile run because you're not wearing a shirt? Look, I mean, that means a lot when you're going for PRs like you are. Every day you're hitting a PR, so maybe I should try.
For me, it's all about in your head. If you can just feel that you'll be faster by not wearing a shirt, you bet your bottom dollar that I'm not going to wear a shirt when I run. Even when I ran my mile time and I got my best time in a long time, I was wearing a very, very light cutoff and light runner shorts. And I was like, if I would have been wearing my basketball shorts and a sleeved shirt, promise you I would not have gotten that time. Anyways,
true.
Running has been great. That's been something, of course, that I've been talking about the last few weeks, really. I totaled up my mileage from April 26th to July 1st, and I've run a total of 152 miles.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Feeling very good.
That's great. I need to check that, but, man, it's a lot of miles.
I know, man. If you would have told me I'd be running this much, again, just to say, I know it sounds cliche, but I would have looked at you really funny, but couldn't be happier. I mean, my mental health is doing really well for the situation we're in. Being that South Carolina is one of the worst states probably in the country, one of the worst places to be when it comes to the virus. I saw today we had, I think, 56,000 new cases countrywide, which is a record, and it's nothing new at this point. But on a lighter note, I know we just talked about it, but I want to mention to our viewers and listeners, if you have any love for basketball at all, whether it's you would like to watch games when they're on, or you're to the extreme like me and Danny where we talk about basketball when it's not even being played. Ray Allen from the outside, oh my gosh, 12 out of 10. I just finished it. I think I started on Tuesday night, and we're currently recording Friday afternoon. So zoomed through it pretty quick, not to mention the pun right there with Zoom. I hope you got that. But yeah, it's so good. It literally talks about how he grew up. He actually grew up in Dalzell County, near the Sumter area. And, I totally forgot that he was from South Carolina. Of course, I knew that KG was a South Carolina guy from Malden and Greenville, and, ended up being on the Big Three together in Boston. 2 South Carolina boys. How weird is that? But it was great. Talked about his experience at UConn, on to Milwaukee, Seattle, Boston, Miami. I mean, it was phenomenal. So I definitely recommend it. And one thing that I tweeted out, a little topic of discussion that we can go over, Your dad actually was the first one to reply to me. There was an instance where I want to say it was towards the end of their reign as the big three. Rajon Rondo got to be really just a pest in the locker room. He was throwing stuff at there was a story about him throwing a water bottle at the TV screen when Doc Rivers said, watch the film. And he said, man, forget your film. He didn't say forget your film, but censoring it, and broke the TV screen, didn't say anything. And they were trying to get on him and stuff. But anyways, there was a trade that was actually supposed to go down, but Doc Rivers actually felt bad about it because it was with the New Orleans Hornets. The Hornets almost traded Chris Paul to the Boston Celtics for Rajon Rondo. Danny, okay, so imagine this, and listeners and viewers, imagine this. CP3 with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, KG, and a healthy Kendrick Perkins. How good would that team have been?
I mean,
I had to mention Perkins. I'm sorry.
You had me until you mentioned Kendrick Perkins. I mean, I was so like I was in on that team being one of like the potentially best of all time, and then you said my man Kendrick Perkins, and you completely. No, I'm kidding. Shout out to Perk. I mean, let's be real. Let's give Perk his credit. He's becoming one of the most like prominent figures in social media right now. Whether it's because he's trolling everybody,
yeah.
I would say so. I mean, I'd say he's trolling people half the time. I got to be honest. He's becoming like the anti-Skip Bayless, which, you know, you always need an anti-hero, I guess. Well, I guess a hero because Skip might be the anti-hero. But, man, that would have been amazing because you think about Rajon Rondo, right? And you think about his ability to control the game, control the pace. But like you said, one of the problems was his ego. We've seen Chris Paul. He might have an ego when it comes to negotiating contracts or, you know, getting angry at his teammates and all this nonsense. But when he's been on successful teams, on good units, he's always been a complete point guard. He's one of the most underrated shooters, in my opinion, in terms of point guards. You very rarely see him miss an open shot. You just don't. And he distributes the basketball. And talk about that. I mean, having guys on the wing, having guys down low. I mean, Chris Paul would have had just every option. And I mean, you can't even imagine how good that team would have been, especially a young, healthy Chris Paul. Like,
that's what gets me too. But your dad actually, shout out Mr. Steve, responded ASAP. I mean, literally, I tweeted it and I looked down and your dad was the first to reply. And I put the question that I posed was if the Celtics pulled off this trade, creating a core of, you know, CP, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and KG, what was their realistic ceiling? And your dad said, same as without him. CP is not a great guy either, to use Doc's words. Would have had about the same chance to win with CP or Rondo at point. Both very self-centered and aloof, in my opinion. Not great team guys as a result. Your dad needs to come on, Danny.
And the thing is, my dad and I talk about this all the time. And CP3 is a North Carolina guy, so it hurts me to get on CP. I played against his AAU teams when I was young. I respected CP3, but I don't think my dad's wrong. I mean, we've seen how he's acted on the Clippers when he had two of the best young guys to throw the ball around to. I mean, he had Blake Griffin. He was throwing alley-oops to Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, like from full court. You know, he had these guys. But as soon as he gets bounced somewhere else, it's, oh, yeah, no, those guys had nothing, no, you know, whatever. And now, you know, he gets traded to OKC and he wants to be the guy and he wants to take all his money. And I don't think my dad's wrong. I mean, I don't think he would have been as bad as Rondo. I think Doc could have maybe corralled him a little, I hope. But Doc did coach him there. You know, he would have coached him in Boston. He coached him in LA. So you don't really know. You don't know. I mean, Doc is a good judge of character. You'd have to trust what he said. And, you know, my dad's been watching basketball for a long time, so I trust what he says when it comes to basketball. But I'm not quite sure I agree with him in terms of the same. But you got to think about who those Celtics teams were facing.
True.
Facing one of the best players of all time, God rest his soul. So, I mean, would CP3 would he have been the bit to get him over the top? Would he have been, you know, helping them to beat the Kobes and the LeBrons of the world? Who knows? We haven't really seen CP3 come up big. I always talk about teams, you know, when he needs to be around, when he's the guy who can potentially get them over the hump. How many times does he catch a thumb injury or plays an off game, pull his hand, something? There's always something, right? They had the Warriors in deep water. He goes out. See ya. You just knew it was coming. He's almost like, you're going to hate me for saying this, but he's the accident waiting to happen in the NBA. He has a great regular season. I hate to do this to you. I didn't want to do it, and it just came naturally, okay? This is not pre-planned. That's what he is. He's the accident waiting to happen in the NBA. You just don't want him on your team come crunch time. So
it's funny, you know, because
I think he's partly right, but partly wrong.
Right.
But I will correct myself. Your accident waiting to happen Cowboys are looking real good right now, especially if you land Mr. Jamal. I mean, if that happens,
Listen,
That
the
y'all are
thing
a
with
pro. You're
the thing
already a
with
problem.
Dallas, the
You're
thing with
already a problem.
Dallas is, of course, we get probably our best team in the last 5 years together, and there may not even be a season. Of course, we do it this year. Of course, we get CeeDee Lamb. Of course, Jamal wants to come. We may not have a season. So, how much hope can I really have? Really,
It's
really.
true.
I think about going back to your Chris Paul point, though. I mean, you're definitely right about Kobe and the battles they had, East versus West in the finals. But think about this. After LeBron left for Miami, that's when the big three started to fall apart. I know Father Time played a role, at least for Ray Allen, maybe a little for Paul Pierce. But imagine if CP would have gone to the Celtics right as LeBron jetted for Miami. Imagine those duels. I mean, you talk about the iconic LeBron stare down game when he had 45 in game 6 against the Celtics at TD Garden, but what if Chris Paul was there? I mean, imagine the dynamic they would have had on offense too. Chris Paul being way more of a threat than Rondo ever was, at least in my opinion. I know that Prime Rondo was one that you could not mess around with, and he was top 5 point guard, I think, of his generation. Really, I'm not scared to say that, but I mean, it's always a what if. It's always a what if. You can't really what if it to death because it's not going to do you any good. But on the topic of CP3, we've got some news that is really exciting. One of our Kicking It guests, Zarek Lawler, Wingate alumni, will be playing on ESPN Saturday night, July 4th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time against Team CP3. He will be playing with Team Primetime Players in the basketball tournament. Our first dose of live basketball since March, Danny. How has it been since March?
It's crazy to think about. And before we get into it, what's even crazier to think about? Can we talk about how simple the name of this is? The basketball tournament. I mean, it's beautiful. It's
TBT.
it's absolutely beautiful. Just the basketball tournament. You can finally enjoy some. And hey, let's not get it twisted. Now, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, the TBT. This is like similar to a minor leagues or something." No, no, no. These are some of the best players that played at all big colleges, Division One, Division Two, have had NBA, experience overseas. Like this is going to be some good quality basketball. And like you said, this is going to be our first reminder that basketball is back. Basketball's coming back. And to see guys like Zebo, and I know Sean Barnett's going to be playing as well, get the chance to play on ESPN. I mean, the worldwide leader. This is what we're talking about, the worldwide leader. That's incredible. I mean, me and Josh were talking about it today on our run, and I was saying, imagine if one of our matches against Queens got bumped to ESPNU. ESPN the
Right.
Ocho, for God's sakes. I mean, anything. And on ESPN, like that's where this could make a guy's career. So I'm really interested to see, and I'm excited to see Zebo, man. It's been a while since I got to watch him play. So to be able to
I
watch him on
know.
ESPN, maybe a bottle of wine or two to celebrate the fourth as I watch my guy. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Would not be against that when it
No.
comes to watching it. Odell Turner, another Wingate guy that's going to be
Right.
playing in that game too. So 3 Wingate Bulldogs. I only felt it was right to represent today, throw on the W. But
Yes, sir.
that's going to be exciting. One other shout out we had, one of two that I have actually. Our guy Marquise Williams is a dad now.
Another Kicking It alumni
Oh
guest.
my gosh, another Kicking It guest. Marquise, if you're watching this, if you're listening, congrats, man, to you and your wife for having your beautiful baby girl. And let's just say, too, he may be one of the funniest dads on social media. I mean, I always feel like I'm sending you every single one of his stories because they're just so good.
He
They're
kills
so
me,
good.
man. I love how it almost seems like his life just didn't even like have a bump in the road, right? He's just training, cooking, hanging out with his wife, and now you just see more Snapchats of his daughter sleeping or not sleeping, and him talking about not being able to get a good night's sleep. I mean, it's hilarious. But like you said, congratulations to the family, Marquise. We know it's going to be a big upcoming season for you. Can't wait to see you do big things, and we know that having a daughter is only going to push you to work harder and be better. So we're excited to buy the jersey of whatever team you eventually get to when you get called up to the league.
Indeed. Indeed. And one last shout out. I'm sure you saw it on social media this morning, either on Snapchat or Instagram. I can't remember. Our boy Jay Cotty just came on, episode 28 guest, threw down his first dunk, and he said a really long time, I guess probably since the season. He said he's up to 192. So look out. Bully guard, him and Cio in the backcourt next year. They're going to be some pretty hefty guard. Should we mention thick boys? Should we enlighten our viewers and listeners on the Thick Boys crew, Danny?
I mean, they have absolutely joined the thick boy army. This is what, and for those who don't know,
Give us a backstory.
when those who don't know, right? So I go to just about every basketball game. Donnie can attest to this. Every basketball game, female and male at Wingate, you will see me in the corner, supporting. I love supporting Wingate athletics. I was upset I never got the Spirit Award at Wingate, but I digress. But I would go watch all the time, and every time Wingate would face another team, and there would be maybe a guard or a forward who was just thick, think Zach Randolph, think Mark Gasol, think that LR center who could shoot the three. Like, these guys are thick, right? So I would text Donnie as he's on ESPN recording, mind you. I mean, this guy's doing his job. I mean, shout out our boy. His face is on ESPN more than a lot of athletes we know, right? And I'll send him a text or a Snapchat or something of the player, and I'll say, this guy's the new captain of the thick boy army. He's the new sergeant, the new lieutenant. And I look over, and Donnie has to mute himself on the live broadcast because he's dying laughing. And can we just shout out? I think you probably know his name. I don't really know his name. The lieutenant captain of the thick boy army from Catawba. I mean, that dude is a bowling ball, and he can ball, man.
He can ball. Devin Cooper.
Cooper. Shout out to you, Dev.
Charlotte guy as well, I believe. Or North
I bet
Carolina
he is,
guy.
baby. We're thick around here. We're thick down in the 704.
And when we say thick boys, we're not making fun of their size by any means.
Absolutely. I have a hoodie that says thick boy crew. Like, I'm a thick boy.
Oh my God.
I love it, man. I'm a thick boy all the way. With two C's, baby. THICC. Thick boys.
And also, in case there are any recruiters or people that are looking for a broadcaster, I am looking at these texts during media timeouts.
I
have to clarify that. I'm not commentating and going, and then thick boys. I'm not going to do that.
But if you said that on a broadcast, I mean, I did my job. That would be so.
Let's hope I don't. How about let's hope I don't?
I hope you do. But maybe for like an AAU game, not for an ESPN.
Definitely. Or I'm on the sideline commentating, and there's some time for some lighthearted comments. But
exactly.
Those are some of our shout outs for guys that have come on our podcast and guested. Can't wait to see what they do next. And another one that we can really even mention too, Noah Eagle. He's been on the tennis channel. Yeah. I know your dad commented on one of his posts today, tweeted at him, and he's going to be involved probably in some capacity for the NBA bubble, our next topic of discussion. And there have been guys that have dropped out. Victor Oladipo, literally just as we got on, said he is not playing. Gordon Hayward said he will leave if his daughter is born while he's in the bubble, which makes it an unknown whether or not he'll be allowed back in to play with his teammates. So, Danny, quite simply, what do you make of all these guys making their decisions?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think this is something that we kind of predicted. I mean, when the bubble is going to be the way that it is, right? You're going to take these guys away from their family, away from their regular life after 4 months of getting on a new routine, getting on a new diet, a new training plan. Maybe they had their own personal chefs and masseuses and training. And I mean, being with your family, I think, is one of the things that all of us cherish the most about this. So to leave a guy who's been with his family for the last 4 months in a row and then say, oh, wait, now you can't see your family for 3 months. That's tough, man. Like, you got to understand, for Victor Oladipo, he's trying to protect himself and his family. And Gordon Hayward, I mean, the birth of his daughter, how can you miss that? And I think that's going to be more than just one player. I think what we're seeing now is guys who sorry, I got a call here. I had to silence it. But, it's guys who have been outward about it, that they're not comfortable. The guys like DeMar DeRozan who have come out and said, I'm not that comfortable with this. It's weird. It seems over the top. And this is going to happen. I mean, obviously the guys who test positive, we're making sure that they're okay before they come back. Spencer Dinwiddie and DeAndre Jordan are some of the guys who got mentioned, but this is going to happen. I know that people are disappointed that Oladipo, especially Pacers fans, I can't imagine how they're feeling right now with their shots going straight out the window. I mean, let's call it what it is, but this is going to happen, and guys are going to get sick during this. It's part of what's going on. And that's the thing where, a lot of the guys who have been saying, if you win the championship this year, you should not have an asterisk. You should have a gold star. Like, I like that's true. Guys have been coming off a completely different routine, completely different lifestyle, and they're going to win in a completely different lifestyle. And I know this is something that you probably paid attention to, but I remember Giannis came out and said, and I believe somebody else, I can't remember, this is similar to how they do it, in Europe. This is how the FIBA does it. They lock them up. You go to this place, you play. There's not giant crowds. You're away from your family. So does this give an advantage to guys like Giannis and the foreign guys, maybe Luka, guys like that who are used to this? You don't know. They had to move away from their families to come play in the NBA, period. So maybe this will affect guys like LeBron, family men a little bit more. I'm very interested to see, because how big of a part of these guys' success is being with their family and having their normal routine. And we're just seeing that it's really affecting guys, so much so that a superstar like Victor Oladipo is not even going to go. He's not even going to try it. So I'm interested to see how many other players, because Victor Oladipo is a big name. If it was small guys, bench guys, maybe they'd think they're not as important. So whatever, but Victor Oladipo is a superstar. He made the Pacers really. He gave them their chances. In my opinion, their chances are out the window now. So, we'll be interested to see what are kind of the waves from this. Are there going to be other players this week who drop out? Because my prediction is that there are.
For sure, I agree with you. I think that when I think about, though, what would be the number of players you'd expect, really, it's so up in the air that you have no idea. And I'm interested to see just how the news that we've gotten, at least for the Clippers, I think they closed their practice facility yesterday because of positive tests. The Nuggets have done it. I think the Nets, of course, did it. So we really don't know. I mean, once these guys get there, I would like to believe that I think it's going to be okay. I think that the NBA has been strict enough. I think that they've got their rule book when it comes to this. Their guidelines will be, God willing, good enough to keep this alive and keep this, through to the end of the season. But who knows, man? Who knows? But Giannis did. I actually sat down and watched his entire Zoom. It was weird because the press conference, you're so used to seeing all these recorders right in guys' faces and, left and right. But literally there was a guy mediating it, and he would literally welcome in people on Zoom calls. There was just like a joint Zoom, and he would say, Malika Andrews, ESPN, Zora Stevenson, Bucks Digital, and they would chime in. You could definitely hear that they were on a Zoom call, and Giannis was just staring at the screen. It was a weird setup, but he did mention the thing that you mentioned about how FIBA really would do the same thing. They would literally get the guys there, isolate them from their families, only play ball for days and weeks on end. Who knows? It'll be interesting. But baseball is going to be back finally. Football is looking hopefully to come back. They've canceled some preseason games. So for me, my head is kind of all over the place. I think July is going to be really exciting. In other news, baseball is coming back too. So you have to think about what's going to happen with them. Jeff Passan, our baseball Woj, was tweeting like crazy, of course, when the news broke. And it's weird. I think opening day is going to be July 23rd. In other news too, the MLB canceled their All-Star game for the first time since World War II, which just sounds very weird to say. Yeah. We're literally living in history. Football hopefully will come back. What do you make of all this news too, Dan?
Yeah, and in addition to that, minor league baseball just canceled their season as well. So that's obviously a big effect on Charlotte. I know the Charlotte Knights are the league leader in the minor league baseball when it comes to ticket sales. And, we sell out those games. It's a great atmosphere over there. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot happening. I mean, July, like you said, it's going to be an exciting time. There's a lot going on. We're going to see how different policies work. How does the bubble work? And NFL also, is planning to shorten their roster sizes. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Teams have to start being more strategic about who they're bringing. There's clearly a lot of reaction going on. It's not a lot of being proactive right now. I mean, we saw with MLB, they were waiting, and now they make the decision, and the turnaround is 3.5 weeks, and then they're playing. I mean, what do you think the players are thinking? We had no idea this was going on, and now, I mean, imagine if you told a UFC fighter, hey, we're not going to do anything. Oh, wait, you're fighting in 3 weeks, and then you're going to be gone for how long? It's crazy, but it's good to see sports on its way back. Obviously, we've been seeing UFC and soccer. Now golf is on its way back. Baseball's back. Football's canceling games, but they're planning. In other news, the French Open is now – they just agreed that they're going to have 60% fans. They're going to have fans in 60% capacity. So really? Europe is starting to really make moves to try and get fans back in stadiums. So obviously their numbers are not doing what ours are right now. So it's going to be interesting to see, but – this is what we're going to have to see. It's going to be a lot of trial and error. We're going to see how basketball works. How's the bubble going to work? And I think another important thing that, we didn't mention is the mental health of players. I know what you said, hopefully that they're safe in terms of the physical health and, not being infected, being together and, not being allowed to leave. But the mental health is going to take a toll. I mean, to be 3 months separated, you can't get close. I mean, DeMar DeRozan was talking about, wait a minute, we can play the games and fight each other in the games and be all over each other and sweat and saliva, but we can't play doubles ping pong? Like, how ridiculous does that sound? When you think about it in terms of just common sense, that doesn't really make much sense. It doesn't. To not allow people to get close when you're playing games with each other. But like you said, the NBA is doing everything they can to be as safe as they can, and we know baseball will do the same, and football's planning to do the same. So much so that they're cutting out preseason games, potentially cutting it out altogether, and shortening rosters. That's a big deal. It's definitely going to have some effects on the seasons this year, but I know me and you agree on it, and I hope a lot of people are with us. It's better to have sports than not. So
True.
I'm hoping it comes back. I hope everybody's safe, and I hope we get the same quality product that we're used to seeing, and I hope that the players are okay, because at the end of the day, they're human. We always talk about that. They're human. They're going to be away from their families. It's going to be different. So I'm hoping that we get the quality we want, and they have the freedom and the environment that they want, because at the end of the day, that's most important.
I'm glad you mentioned overseas, because they've been killing the game when it comes to the virus in general and getting sports back. And I had to mention it because my team had a very bad loss yesterday. I know your team had a very bad loss as well. Tottenham and Chelsea lost some head-scratching games. Liverpool won the Premier League, as we all know. Soccer is doing so well. Let's just give them a virtual and figurative round of applause, because they've been doing great. The league has been back. You see guys, I think there was one positive test in 2,250 participants, and that's less than, I think, 0.0007%, which is, essentially nothing, not discrediting the person that got it. But I hope that that's just a positive sign to say to people that if you take this seriously, as me and you have hammered over and over again, it can subside. Now, it's not going to go away, but it can get better. But there are just so many hard-headed people out there that doesn't feel like it applies to them.
Yeah. No, you're right. And at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. So if you control the environment, if you wear your mask, if you can control the stuff, and I know the players are doing this. You got to know that there's going to be team people around that are keeping these players doing what it takes to stay fit, stay healthy, and do what they have to do. And because at the end of the day, everybody makes money. Everybody supports their family, staff, coaches, players, if this thing goes on. So, if you want to be ignorant and not follow protocols and not do the little things, what it takes to be safe, then we're not going to get sports. We're not going to lower the numbers, and we're not going to have our freedoms back. And we're going to have, more executive orders and more people dividing, their decisions on what their stance on the mask is. But as far as I know, I want everybody to go back to as much normality as they can when it comes to school, sports, work, having their families be safe. Obviously, a little shout out to Habib Nurmagomedov, the lightweight champion in the UFC. His father, absolutely so unfortunately passed away today due to coronavirus related incidents and just everything that was going on. This is real, guys. It's real. It's killing people's families. It's separating families. And obviously we love to see sports back, but like you said, let's keep everyone safe. Let's keep everyone safe. Let's do the right thing. And then let's see. Because, like you said, in Europe, they figured something out. They figured something out that we didn't. Considering in the NBA, they tested, 300 something? We've got 25, 30 tests. They test over 2,000. They have one. The UFC's been testing all these people. They've had two. One fighter and one cornerman. Like, clearly you can do it. If you really want to put in the time and you isolate yourself, you can do it. So, hopefully, like you said, sports comes back. We protect these athletes as much as we can. And we get back to doing stuff, the way we like.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice. On a lighter note, I actually was blessed by my mom because she actually made a purchase for me, kicks-wise, a pair of some more Flyknits coming in, similar to these ones right here, same type of design.
Yes, sir.
But they will be a different colorway. Are there any new shoes you've gotten?
No, man, I got to be honest, man. My interest in buying shoes right now has really subsided just due to everything that's going on. I want to try and be as money efficient as I can right now. Obviously planning a future now, working on graduation, hopefully, God willing, be graduated with my master's in December, which will be a giant blessing. So as of right now, I'm just trying to be as money efficient as I can, plan my next move. So, buying shoes right now is not really at the front, but I do want to mention those Quay 54 Jordan 6s that are potential, or was it Jordan 7s? No, Jordan 6s that got dropped. Man, those are beautiful. They remind me of those Barcelona 7s, that they, the Last Dance did a little bit of a spotlight on. Beautiful design. And I always support Quay. They put on a great tournament in Paris every year. So that would be a beautiful shoe to have. I'm not exactly sure when it's releasing, but I mean, there's a lot of shoes coming out. We talked about in the last episode, Nike releasing, their was it holiday, fall and winter, summer and fall
I believe so.
session. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of good shoes coming out. Nike has not slowed down. We know that they never slow down. So I'm interested. One thing I wanted to get your take on, something that was interesting that came on, I believe yesterday, is the Redskins with FedEx saying that they want them to change. And I saw today they're going to go into investigation of the team name to potentially change or keep it. I don't know what to think about that. Obviously, for me, my opinion on it, and I'm sure a lot of Redskins fans might get on me for this, some people find it offensive. Why is it such a big deal? Like, oh, it's the brand of the Redskins. What brand? They're like the laughing stock of the league. It's them and the Browns right now that can barely fill up stadiums. And I'd say Cleveland has a much easier job filling up stadiums than the Redskins right now. Dan Snyder's been getting heat for this for a while. I remember I think you probably saw the meme of him doing an interview, and in the back, right when kickoff was starting, that stadium was 25% full.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is if it's that big of a deal to Dan Snyder, I understand why. I do. But if FedEx and Nike and these people are starting to get off that train, I mean, at what point does the financial branding versus kind of how people view your franchise, like at what point do you weigh those options against each other and make an executive decision whether we're with this or we're against it? Because we've seen in these last few months, you can't tightrope, you can't walk on the tightrope. You got to make a decision. So I'm very interested to see what happens from that.
Yeah, it's interesting because one, my mom actually grew up outside of DC for pretty much her entire life, and didn't even think twice. It was never a term that she at least heard, a Redskin being used as a derogatory term towards Native Americans, which, and I can understand now looking at it from a broader aspect. I'm older, I have more knowledge. And at the end of the day, and I think this is my view on everything when it comes to, the statues being removed or names being changed, if it bothers you that much that a name is being changed or a statue is being taken down that either has no direct affiliation towards you or anyone you need to do some self-reevaluation. At least that's as far as I'm going to go when it comes to how I feel about it, because there's so many opinions out there, but if you're that upset about a name change, you may want to, reconsider. But I've seen all of the new concepts on what the Redskins should change their name to. I've seen a lot of dumb ones, let's be real. But one that stood out to me, did you see the Washington Red Tails?
Yes.
And I want to read that just for our listeners and viewers. The name Red Tails celebrates the World War II Tuskegee Airmen, who were the first African-American military aviators in the U.S. Armed Forces. The nickname Red Tails comes from their planes, which had a distinct crimson tail, which would mean no more, you'd have to do any rebranding. There's the jersey, I know you can't really see right now. There's the logo. I mean, you literally wouldn't have to change colors or anything, just a quick name. What would be the harm in that? I just don't get it.
I'm with you when you say, like, what real connection, like, let's be honest here, what real connection do you have to the Redskins name other than maybe the 60, 7-year-old guys who had memories of Joe Theismann and these guys back in the day? I mean, come on, guys. Like, your best quarterback maybe in the history of your franchise was black. Like, why not celebrate more of an African-American style, thing? Celebrate, like you said, the Tuskegee Airmen. That's obviously gigantic in the African-American community. So I don't see the big deal, but I'm also not a Redskins fan. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I have any sort of opinion on it in that regard. But
no allegiance.
I do know how I feel about protecting teams. And why use a name that's, people are talking about they did a poll and it was 1 out of 10 or something. First of all, there's no real statistics on that poll. That could have been you did 10 people that you paid off. There's no real specifications on that poll when they polled Native Americans and what they felt, and was it offensive or was it not. But if there's one person who's offended by it, and not to mention it's the group that we literally took this country from, and ostracized them into their own areas, which still exist today. Like, there's still areas where they have to be on their own. Like, what are we doing? It's not that big of a deal, guys. I'm sorry. When you talk about all these people getting angry at NASCAR and taking away the Confederate flag, you realize, this is about American freedom. Man, that's exactly what the Confederate flag represented the opposite of. It was dividing the United States. It's silly to me. I don't understand it. But like you said, I think the Red Tails would be great. I think there are other options as well. But for me, I'm with you. If it's that big of a deal to you, realistically, like,
And it's not
it's
like
just I don't feel that way.
it's
That's
not
all.
like it's going to erase the history of the team and their
Exactly.
accomplishments. It's not like they're saying, we're going to change your name and we're going to take the last 70, 80 years of your organization and
Exactly.
throw it down the drain. No.
I
I
agree.
mean, you could go on and on. I mean, to me, there's really no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever the owner feels is best, whatever the NFL
Exactly.
can come to an agreement with. On another note, to close things out, one thing that I read in my book that I just finished about Ray Allen, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, so forgive me, but he pretty much said towards the end of the book, and I really wanted to share this because I loved it. Do not go through life thinking you are the victim, because life is hard. Life is not going to be easy. Because if you think you are the victim, that is what you will end up being. How does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, for me, that's one of those things that you don't outwardly say all the time, but you can feel it. Like, when I was playing basketball, that was what somebody who grew up in my situation would have done, right? I was born in New York. A lot of my uncles played basketball. My mom played basketball. So it just kind of seemed normal, right? So when I made the switch to pursue tennis, I took with me that victim feeling at the beginning of like, oh, well, am I going to get the same opportunity? Am I going to get treated wrong because I'm a black player? I mean, I'm half black, but black player in a super predominantly white man sport. I mean, more than a lot of sports that we see. So, how am I going to get received? And I do know there are a lot of other black players that I played around who brought that chip on their shoulder mentality, and that made them even have a worse reputation in the
Mm-hmm.
tennis community because they would consistently bring up, oh, race is the reason why I got cheated. Race is the reason why people don't like me. When in reality, I'll be 100% honest. Some of the worst cheating junior tennis players I played around were black. I mean, and that's just the truth. Some of the worst. Something, wait a minute. No, don't bring that into it. Like, don't initiate that conversation. You play, you prove these stereotypes wrong. And that's what I tried to do throughout juniors and throughout my time at Wingate. You don't have to look a certain way to play a certain sport. And that's just what it is. So to have that victim mentality, like you said, you will fall into those traps. And I believe that they are traps. Act as a human, act as an intelligent, eloquent, well-spoken, outspoken person and talk against these stereotypes. Act against, these preconceived notions about what you should or shouldn't be doing. And I think at the end of the day, I think he's right. I think bringing that victim mentality into what you're doing and what you're, chasing and trying to accomplish in your life is only going to hold you back. I think the most important thing somebody can have is full confidence in themselves as a person and their abilities, their intellect, their speaking ability, their personality, not the race. And I do understand. And maybe I hope that doesn't sound insensitive to people who are trying to maybe make me say that these things don't exist. They absolutely do exist. There are stereotypes, there are preconceived notions that keep people out of jobs and out of opportunities. But what good does it do you to fear that so much that you act as that? You don't need
Mm-hmm.
to act as that. Act in the way that you are. Be the person you are and prove people wrong. So for me, I love that. I think that's a great thing to close on. I'm glad that you brought that up. And I think it's very important. I think it's important that people act as themselves. Don't act against what people might think you're supposed to be. You'll get too caught up in that. When you get caught up in what other people's opinions are of you, you lose track of who you are yourself. So, I love that. I'm glad you brought that up.
You know how much I value and appreciate your opinion, Danny. And in time like this, when I get to hear your insight, it's always awesome, man. So thank you for those words. And to close episode 29, I actually didn't tell you this. I've got a jersey to show you
Uh-oh.
of the GOAT. And I'm going to be wearing this pretty often because it was a really good buy. Very happy that I have it. I know
You
for
said the
those of you that,
GOAT. You said the GOAT. So
yeah,
this
well,
this podcast might not be over if I disagree with who you're talking about here.
so, okay, I got this jersey not too long ago. My mom actually got it for me. When I say the GOAT, I mean, it's really just the GOAT right now. Let's be real.
Okay.
And we're going to be seeing a lot of him in Orlando, chasing a ring. I mean, you really don't know what to expect. Here it is. I don't know if you can read that. For those of you that aren't listening, for those of you that aren't watching, it's on Antetokounmpo, number 34, for the Milwaukee Bucks. That is how we're going to close things. Episode 29 is in the books.
You will not close me out. And for those of you who don't know, and I wouldn't even get into debating the GOAT because we're gonna wait and see. I can't wait to see these guys go at it. But I'm telling you right now, Donnie, if the Lakers play the Bucks in the finals and your Bucks don't come out on top, I'm wearing the LeBron Crenshaw jersey. Crenshaw. We're talking the Crenshaw Nipsey Hussle inspired jersey every Zoom session until the NBA season begins again. I'm telling you that right now. And you viewers and listeners, you hold me to this. I will wear it on every single Zoom call like Shannon does with the LeGoat mask that he wears after the big games. I will wear that LeBron jersey every single Zoom session. But, and you have me on record, the people hear me, if, I say if strongly, if the Bucks beat the Lakers and only the Lakers, I will not respect it if they beat the Clippers.
Oh, come on.
It's got to be the Lakers. It's got to be against my guy LeBron, right? If Giannis overcomes LeBron and the Lakers, I will wear my Giannis jersey, because those of you who know, I love my jersey collection. I have a cream-colored Giannis jersey, and I love that jersey. I will wear that jersey. I'll give you a month. I'll give you every Zoom call for a month.
I'll take that.
But if Giannis doesn't show up in those finals and the Lakers win, you're going to see me in that Crenshaw jersey for about 4 or 5 months in a row. So
That's
there's
fair.
a lot on the line here. But there's a beautiful Giannis jersey. All jokes aside, you know me and my jersey collection is something I pride myself on. So that's a beautiful jersey, and I'm excited to see your boy Giannis. And I'm excited to see what he can do in the playoffs this year, because he's always had, a couple of issues, just something standing in his way. Obviously, it was youth. Then it was Kawhi, one of the best on-ball defenders that there is, who gave him some trouble. This is his year. So I'm excited to see. And truthfully, I wouldn't be mad if they won. And you know why I wouldn't be mad if they won? Because I've predicted that if they win, Giannis will leave and he will come play in Golden State. And that is how I think we should end episode 29, with you thinking about Giannis potentially getting a ring. I mean, that's a positive thing. We can both agree on that. If Giannis gets a ring, that solidifies his superstardom. And if he comes to play in Golden State and they win 3 more, I mean, Giannis is up there with the top guys if he comes to play with the best organization in the league and wins, 3 more rings, maybe 3 more.
The best organization in the
league.
Maybe
think about it, 3 more.
Oh.
That would be amazing for Giannis. What a legacy he would have.
Let me just say, when you say to me, if the Bucks don't come through, I hope this and that, how you're saying you're gonna rub it in my face. I hope you know. I hope you know that if LeBron, after all this stuff that I see on Twitter, if the Lakers don't win the finals, I don't care if they don't make the finals. I don't care if they lose against the Clippers. If the Lakers do not win the finals, you better believe that I will be just as ignorant as Shannon Sharp is on Undisputed, because every single time I see something about the NBA, it's, LeBron's getting ready. LeBron's back. LeBron this. LeBron that.
That doesn't have to do with LeBron.
It's all about LeBron. Are you kidding?
No, but I'm saying it's about LeBron, but LeBron's not coming out and saying it.
Neither is Giannis.
No, I agree. I agree. Yeah. I agree. I'm saying this for you.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. But I'm saying in general, like, if LeBron doesn't win the finals this year, what's the excuse going to be?
I agree. No, I completely agree with that.
Someone's going to win, so someone's going to overcome that obstacle. I don't know. I'm just saying. All right.
This is the excitement. This is why we need basketball back. All this what if and you're gonna and I'm gonna. This is why I cannot wait. And we will. I guarantee you. We will do more podcasts than you've ever heard from us once the NBA season gets going.
This debate is never over. This conversation is never over. Thank you guys for tuning in. Episode 29 of Kickin' It with Breezy and Don C. Next week, episode 30 is coming. We got a big time guest.
Yes,
Stay tuned. Peace out.
Peace out, guys.